Welcome to the Virtual Stab Comedy Theater. It's time for the Suzette Veneti Show. Please welcome to your screen, Suzette Veneti.
Hi everybody, it's Suzette Veneti. It's 7:03 on the dot, and welcome to the Suzette Veneti Show. It's August 2nd, so that means that the 600 a week hasn't been renewed, and I'm taking applications for sugar mommies or daddies or sugar zebras. I really don't care. Girls got to get her rent paid, so holla. Okay, the GOP convention in Charlotte will be closed off to the press. Suspicious. One of the first cruise ships to resume operations is reporting a COVID outbreak. Duh. And Ben Carson looks like a real doctor all of a sudden because Stella Emanuel, among other things, has spoken about, preached about, or written about sex with witches and demons, vaccines to make people not religious, the government being run by reptilians. She said there are people that are running the nation that aren't even human. I mean, I actually agree with that one. Emanuel said in her 2015 Illuminati sermon before launching into a conversation that she had with a reptilian spirit, she described as half human and a half ET, which is confusing because we all know that ET was based off of Albert Einstein and a pug, right? Everyone knows that. She threatened Facebook and other social media platforms that took her videos down with retribution by Jesus Christ himself, another fictional character, declaring that Jesus Christ would destroy the Facebook servers if the videos weren't restored to the platform. If that wasn't enough, she also references sex with spirit wives and spirit husbands, decries the Magic 8 Ball. She claims that the child's toy, the Magic 8 Ball, is in fact a scheme to get children to use witchcraft. It's really a scheme to teach us that answers mean nothing. She said that the 8 Ball was psychic. It's just filled with liquid. Emanuel has enjoyed her newfound celebrity, tweeting a video demanding that CNN hosts and National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease chief Anthony Fauci give her jars of their urine so she can test it to see if they're secretly taking hydroxychloroquine. Even if, that's a drag name by the way, hydroxychloroquine, even as they caution against its use. She said, "I double dog dare y'all to give me a urine sample." That's one way to get a urine from people if you want to. My favorite part was that she warned that the Disney Channel show Hannah Montana was a gateway to evil because its main character has an alter ego. Which, I don't know, people with alter egos, they are kind of weird, right? Just saying. Alter egos. I don't know if I had a stroke reading about what Stella Emanuel talked about. But it felt like playing bingo. She just hit all of the conspiracy theories except Jews. So Stella Emanuel, work on that. You left the Jews out. What's up? Right. Okay. Joe West was hit in the head with a bat. And if you remember Joe West from a couple weeks ago in the monologue, he says that everything that goes into a hospital turns into COVID. So now Joe West is scared that that bat strike to the head is going to turn into COVID. Mystery seeds from China have been popping up all over the United States, Canada, and the UK in unsolicited packages and are arriving from China with alarming frequency to people who have no idea why they're getting mystery packages or who sent them. How about just being glad that China is sending the seeds and not the stems? Am I right? Since late July, the packages labeled to contain jewelry, which they don't, they contain seeds. Authorities say that the packages are mislabeled, and they've identified the seeds as mostly mint, sage, rosemary, and lavender. Authorities have warned residents not to plant or handle the seeds and instead contact the proper authorities to deal with them. All of the authorities except for Stella Emanuel, who swears that if you plant the mystery seeds, you can grow a fully aged reptilian politician in just 6 months. She even claims that she spoke with a man named Jack who planted such a seed and grew a magic beanstalk. Joe Biden continues to whittle his list of vice presidential candidates down. He has it down to 5 women, Biden is taking more time to select a candidate than The Bachelor gives out roses. Please, Joe, pick a qualified woman and let's get this campaign going. The country of Egypt has invited billionaire inventor Elon Musk to come to the pyramids because Musk tweeted that he believed that aliens built the pyramids. They're waiting for him to respond. He is an erratic tech genius, and he should go to the pyramids and see that they were built thousands of years ago as tombs for Egyptians that were important enough to receive such a memorial, or rich enough. Or so we thought, because Stella Emanuel, and Stella Emanuel alone, knows the truth. In fact, she has a new picture book coming out where she outlines how the pyramids are actually sex brothels for alien witch demon husbands and wives to deposit the seed that they collect, not the seed that's being sent from China, the seed they catch in their dreams. Delta Flight 1227, set to fly from Atlanta to Detroit, had to return to the gate last week after 2 passengers refused to wear masks on the flight, which is the rule now. Delta officials asked the passengers to please get off the flight, and the 2 maskless passengers were then greeted by representatives from Spirit Airlines, who invited them to not only ride on the next flight to Atlanta on Spirit Airlines, but if they wanted to be the pilot and co-pilot of the plane, Spirit Airlines is okay with that. Florida officials removed 5,000 Burmese pythons from the Everglades recently. They are not a naturally occurring species to the Everglades, and they are destructive because they reproduce and kill other species of snakes. They could wipe out all the other species of snakes, in fact, because they're such a destructive predator and invasive species. While those of us that are phytophobic out there might be like, well, one species of snake is better than, I don't know, thousands of species of snakes. That's actually bad for the environment and could lead to the Burmese pythons becoming uncontrollable in their mating, to the point where they could pose an overly serious threat to humans. Experts explain that because the Burmese python isn't native, it most likely has become invasive due to an escaped or released pet. You know where I'm going. Experts except Stella Emanuel, who will tell you that it was just the last junior senator from Florida that's the Burmese python, because he's reptilian. Come on, Burmese python, send Dr. Emanuel your urine sample and prove it. She wants to confirm her theorem that reptiles are in the politics. Is theorem a word? Actually, I was wondering that when I wrote that, because I feel like it's one of those sneaky words like misremember. Like when Roger Clemens used that, we all made fun of it back then, and funnily enough, when people say, oh, that's funnily enough, we all think that's not a word, but then it actually turns into a word. So I'm going to feel stupid if theorem is a word. Scientists at Washington State are bragging about capturing their first murder hornet so they can study it. They worked very hard in tracking the mating patterns of the murder hornets and scouting the nesting sites. Washington State, girl, why are you out here trying to catch a toxic predator? He's not good for you. Quit bragging and quit trying to catch him. The CDC is reporting that salmonella outbreaks in 34 states can be linked to red onions, which is awful, because maybe now restaurants will stop trying to put onions on my baked potato, so it's actually good. Because it doesn't matter, as long as I say, no onions, they keep putting them on there. It's like, stop putting the onions on my baked potato. Sometimes they put extra when you say no onions. It's very confusing. And then finally, Postal Jacket. You can read a story by Heather Cox Richardson on BillMoyers.com, and that's where I'm sourcing most of this from. In Trump's bid for re-election, he's attacking the idea of mail-in voting, although he's often used it himself. The Republican Party has traditionally applauded mail-in voting because it enables seniors and other people that can't get out of their homes to vote Republican and cast a ballot more easily. This year, it runs the risk of permitting Democrats who are afraid of catching COVID-19 at the polling places to vote. Low voter turnout has favored Republicans traditionally, so Trump is pushing the idea that mail-in ballots will lead to massive electoral fraud and a rigged 2020 election. There is no evidence that this is true. With the recent tweet about delaying the election, he experienced blowback. The tweet backfired, and he turned to another angle to attack mail-in voting. He insisted that the election must be decided on Election Day itself, November 3rd. He tweeted that they must know the election results the night of the election, not days, months, or even years later. There's actually no law that says the election has to be known the day of. It actually used to take a lot of time, like, back when Hamilton was a thing, Hamilton as seen on Disney+. Votes need to be counted carefully. Some states permit any ballots that are postmarked by Election Day, and they take time to arrive because reasons. Provisional ballots need to be examined. This year, because of COVID and polling places being shut down or minimized, a significant number of ballots might come in after Election Day, so it's reasonable to expect that a final tally might come days after November 3rd. What it looks like Trump is doing by tweeting is an attempt to rig the mechanics of the election and enable him to win by manipulating the ballots and counting. This in turn is leading to an attack on the United States Postal Service, in order to delay or prevent the delivery of ballots. So again, here's the story. Heather Cox Richardson on BillMoyers.com. On May 6th, the Board of Governors of the United States Postal Service appointed Louis DeJoy to the position of Postmaster General. The Board of Governors consists entirely of Trump appointees. Since the Senate stopped confirming appointees during President Barack Obama's term and began to confirm them again in 2018, the president can just do what he wants. DeJoy was a top donor to President Trump and the Republican National Committee, giving them more than $2 million since 2016. For 2 decades, the Postmaster General has risen from within the ranks of the Postal Service, which sounds like a cool graphic novel. He was appointed, DeJoy, by the vice chair of the Board of Governors, Democrat David Williams, when Democrat David Williams resigned, citing the attempts of the Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin to politicize the traditionally non-politicked USPS. The pandemic is crippling the revenue of the agency since most mail is sent by the businesses, which have been shut down since March. The USPS is projecting a $13 billion revenue shortfall by the end of September. This is a lot of words. I'm just going to skip to the point. The point is, the Postal Service, which has long been criticized by Trump, because he blames it for the financial success of Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post and is highly critical of Trump. And Trump wants to privatize one of the agency's highly valuable assets. The USPS doesn't receive support from tax dollars, meaning it's self-supporting and self-funding, yet it's still required to serve the entire country. It employs more than 6,300 no, I'm having trouble with numbers. Oh my God, it's hot. It's this jacket. 630,000 workers, including a large proportion of people of color, women, and more than 100,000 military veterans. It has a valuable fleet of vans, real estate, fashion sense, but more than that, it has proprietary information that's highly sought after by private mail carriers. It does not, in fact, undercharge Amazon or other large customers because by law it can't do so. On Wednesday, the USPS took a step towards Trump's demands when it agreed to give Mnuchin the agency's proprietary information on its 10 largest service contracts, including that of Amazon, FedEx, UPS, in exchange for getting a $10 million bailout that it needs to survive. The USPS is popular. 90% of Americans have a favorable view of it. If Congress allows the USPS to collapse and private companies to take over the mail business, we can expect what we've seen with private internet providers. Thorough service in urban areas that will turn a healthy profit, either non or very expensive service in rural areas. So, I don't know how, but we need to support our mail carriers. Say hi to them. Be nice to them. Make their lives a little bit easier by keeping the path to your mailbox clear. Keep your dogs out of the way. Tell them to have a nice day if you see them. It's hot out there, and they're delivering rain or shine. Let's keep their morale high. Our country might depend on it. And don't procrastinate. Like, some drag princesses. Get your ballot in as soon as you can. Lighten the load on the final push. I do realize that sounds like sex. But I didn't intend it that way. It is funny how they come rain or shine, snow or summer, because with the right partner, don't we all? But seriously, we all have one job in 3 months. We're voting. If you're brave enough to go in person, wear a mask, be safe, and do it. And if you vote from home with a mail-in ballot, smile at your mail carrier when you see them. Thank them for being a badass. Now, to a woman who's been getting all sorts of suspicious packages, let's go to a segment that has no name. One of my favorite people, one of my favorite follows on social media. Peers and Queers, give it up for Chelsea Bearce. Hey, Chelsea.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm hot and I had trouble reading, so I'm a little bit worried, but I don't smell toast. I think I'm okay.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Good. Oh wait, there we go. Okay, cool. Hi. Okay, here I am. Hi. So you did a lot of political stuff today, and I don't want to talk about that at all.
Okay.
But yeah, we never know what I'm going to talk about when I do this segment. But last time I was on the show, oh no, first, you brought up the seeds that people are getting in the mail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't get any seeds in the mail, but check this out. Once a week for the last 3 weeks, I've gotten random packages, okay, that are now like they're not from anybody. The return address is like super vague, like it's a PO box or something. And so it's been really, really bizarre. So I didn't know if it's because like I've been ordering too much shit on Amazon. Maybe this is just a bonus prize or whatever. Like I didn't know where this shit was coming from, right? So the first time this happened, I'm not kidding, I open it up and it's a package roughly this size, right? I open it up and there's a tiny little box and I open it up and it's razor blades. It's a box of fucking razor blades. There's no name. I didn't order razor blades, okay? I didn't do that. So I don't know where it came from, okay? So I was like, well, that's weird. And I just thought it was like a one-time weird coincidence, okay, that I get a random thing in the mail. Whatever, okay, I'll look past it. Okay, cut to the next week, okay? The next week, I get another thing in the mail, and I don't know what it is, right? So I open it up, dead ass, it's a diamond ring, okay? I open it, it's like, right. I mean, it's not like a good one. Like, it's one of those where you can choose your own sizes of it, you know, like you can push it together. It was kind of out of a vending machine, but there was no, like, return address. There was no name. There was no, like, slip, invoice, nothing. Just this weird-ass, by itself, diamond ring shows up to my house, okay? This week, this is not an exaggeration. I have it right here. This is the third and final one. And I don't know where the fuck this came from, but I open it up and I have biological nursing liquid. What the shit is this? What is this? I don't know what it is. I'm terrified to open it. It's a tube of some sort. Biological nursing liquid. I own that now. I own it. So I didn't get seeds in the mail, but I did get razor blades, a fucking diamond ring, and nursing liquid.
So you said that's the third and final package, but you don't actually...
Well, it's the third one that I've gotten. I don't know. Maybe they might, I mean, they might be sending me a relationship right now. Like we did the razor blades when everything's bad, and then we make up and we get married, so I have the diamond ring, then I have a kid, so I have nursing. So it's like, I don't know, what's next? The fetus? Like, are they gonna send me a fucking, I don't know. I have no idea what's coming up next. It's terrifying.
If you get a fetus in the mail, you need to move. Because that's too much.
Record it, because that will get a ton of likes on TikTok. So, yeah, so I thought that was very, very strange, just to piggyback on your, you know, thing, your little mail story, the little seed story.
Mm-hmm.
But what I talked about last time I was on the show was how I got ghosted and stood up from the last guy I was going to go on a date with, right? We all remember this?
Mm-hmm.
You remember this? Yes. So he stood me up. He like didn't want to meet me, and then didn't even say anything until like I called him out, and he was like, "Hey, beautiful," and I was like, "Hi, you're alive? That's crazy." And he goes, "Yeah, what's up? We should hang out." And I was like, "We were supposed to, you dumb fuck. Like we were supposed to hang out." And then his response was, "If it's meant to be, it will be." Namaste. I mean, it's like, who says that? So it was super, super weird how I got completely stood up by this guy, right? And I did not like it. I was very, very upset. And I was ready to actually like swear off of online dating, because online dating is a nightmare anyway. But you throw in disease and quarantine and face masks and social distancing, it's it takes it to another level. It is so hard. If you weren't with someone when quarantine started and you're trying to start a new relationship right now, it is one of the most impossible things to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk at all, or is it just me going off?
No, I was just, I'm here. Look, we could talk about dating because I don't like to do it. So, I mean, we could talk about it all day because it's hard enough. And then with this going on, and then, I mean, if you're getting ghosted and then the message is what will be, like,
right.
I don't even want to try.
Right. So here's the thing, is that I wanted to give up for good and not do any more dates, right? And then I was like, well, let me give it a shot. So I actually tried a social distance date. I tried that, okay? And we talked for a while on texting, and then we were like, hey, let's just get coffee and then walk, like, outside by the water. Like, let's, be outside and just do a social distance date. Okay. So here's the trick, though. Okay, and this is where I feel like I was being a bitch, but I also feel like if you're going to start a relationship with someone, you can start off knowing what you want and knowing what you don't want, and that's okay. That's okay.
Totally.
So I walk into this Starbucks to get a drink, and he's there already, and he is exactly the same height as me. Now, I'm not one of those height queens. Like, I'm not like, you have to be 6 feet or more or it's not happening. I'm not that girl.
Now,
okay?
how tall are you for the viewers?
I am very short. On a good day, I'm 5'2". Okay? I'm very short.
That is short.
And this is a good day. That's including this, okay? That's including that. So, I don't know. It's just when I saw that, I immediately wanted to be like, nice try, I'm out. Like, you know what I mean? But I can't do that because sometimes I'm nice. So I have to be kind of nice to this guy. And we get coffee and we go for a walk, okay? Now, here's the thing. With first dates, I feel like there should be a limit. I feel like there should be a 30-minute time limit. Your friend calls you, it's an emergency, you have to go. There needs to be a time limit because first impressions, you know immediately if you want to see this guy again or not. You know what I mean?
Right. Or for the next 10 minutes.
I stayed in this horrible, horrible date for 2 fucking hours.
No. Why would you do that?
Because I'm nice and I don't know how to hurt somebody's feelings unless I'm on stage with a microphone in my hand and I'm getting paid for it. But when I'm one-on-one with someone who is short and he's just sad, then I don't know. I couldn't turn it off, you guys. Okay, so here's the thing. In 2 hours, I spoke 17 words.
What? How is that possible?
He wouldn't shut the fuck up. He wouldn't stop talking. Okay? Now, I think that he went on this date just to have someone to talk to. I think his therapist gave up on him. I think his family hates him. And he just needed another adult human to talk to.
Wait.
Okay?
You're not talking about David Shapiro, right?
Oh my God, no, I wouldn't even have gotten coffee if it was him.
Okay.
So he is talking to me, but the conversation very quickly turned into a political conversation. And it got very heavy for the first date. And I just feel like on a first date, it should probably stay kind of light. You know, like what things are you into? Would you want to do this again? What kind of things do you like to do? Kind of things like that. He went into how he completely disagrees with minimum wage and how we should all get rid of minimum wage because it ruins small businesses. He went into social justice. He went into the government holding small businesses at gunpoint. He used the word tyranny 3 times. 3 times! It was exhausting. And it got to the point where I was just like, I gotta go. Like I can't do this anymore because I feel like my brain is melting out of my skull. Like I just can't. I was literally focused on everything else on the planet. Like, what do I need to do today? When's the next time I need to grocery shop? Like, what am I gonna eat when I get home? Like, that's what I was thinking of. And it's because this guy was boring as shit and he just wanted to tell me his social agenda regardless of if I gave a shit or not. And it was really sad.
So yeah.
I'm still single. That's the moral of the story. I'm still insanely single. And dating during a fucking quarantine is terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Well, I mean, like an action figure, you come with things, and one of those things is nursing liquid. So the right guy could be out there.
I do have that. I have my biological nursing liquid. I still have the razor blade. So if anybody here needs this, let me know. Let Suzette know. I can send it to you.
Let us know what it's for. How about that? If anyone knows what biological nursing liquid is for, let us know that.
Or if they can read those characters that are on there. I don't know. I'm very, 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 I'm intrigued by the fact that I got this in the mail.
So now, okay, you said you can be mean if you have a microphone on stage, but you can't in person.
Because people have said that I'm mean because I do a lot of crowd work and I talk to the audience, but I also make it okay for you to laugh at yourself. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's okay to laugh at the dumb shit that we all do. We all do dumb shit. Let me make fun of it on a microphone and just calm down and laugh with me.
So what would you have said to this tiny man that you got coffee with if you had a microphone?
If I had a microphone and he was sitting there and he started talking to me during my show, I mean, right. I mean, I would have definitely commented on his height. I couldn't do that face to face. I would have commented on his height and how, this 4'3" man is upset that people get paid what they get paid. Like, why? And granted, he was a business owner. He was a small business owner. So he
was a small business owner.
He's a small, get it? I get it. And so like he feels personally attacked by big businesses, like, using the minimum wage and how, they can afford it, but small businesses can't. And it's just like, oh my God, put some risers in your shoes, take your tampon out and shut the fuck up. I can't.
I don't want to tread on Paul Conyers' territory too much here, but it sounds like he also felt offended by, I don't know, height restrictions. And when you said
maybe, but then he also, to be completely honest, then he texted me afterwards. And that's when I was honest. That's when I could be honest, because I knew that I didn't want to see him again because it would just be like, I'm not a masochist. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to actually be in pain because I have to hang out with this fucking tiny piece of shit again. But he did text me afterwards, and he was like, I was checking out your body and you look really good. And and I was like, I would shatter you. I would break you in half. If I unleashed these and touched them on your body, you would crumble like a Pringle. Like, I can't. I need someone of substance to handle me. I'm a lot. All around, I'm a lot. But hey, guys, I'm single, so go ahead and slide into my DM.
When you told me that this tiny man and you went on a walk, my first thought was like, to the Lollipop Guild. I've been holding that in for like 10 minutes.
If he didn't have a full-on beard, it would probably look like I was babysitting.
So, yeah, dating is hard. Is the moral of the story?
I just wanted to tell you about that because I talked to you about my, last date that was supposed to be and how fucking mad I was that this guy ghosted me and then gave me a fucking, fortune cookie answer. If it's meant to be, it'll be. No, bitch, we made plans. Okay, it was meant to be. You're a piece of shit. So then he canceled, and then I was like, well, you know what? I went on another date. Let me talk to Suzette about it and bring it to the table. So I wanted to just tell you about my last date and how I'm losing all hope on the planet. I'm just like, what is wrong with me? Why?
Oh, I don't think that's wrong with you. I think that's wrong with those guys.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I don't. There's so much material with this tiny man. I don't know what joke to spit out.
Oh my god! It was so bad. So anyway, that's it.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Well, thank you. And
maybe I'll just keep going on dates and I'll just keep telling you about them. Maybe that'll be my new segment. I don't know.
That sounds amazing if that's what we do, because the dates, even when you don't have a date, it's a story. That's 3 times we've talked about dating or dating related things with you. So that's a trend.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay.
Because the other one was the guy on the golf course up north.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And
I told that story on here? Oh shit.
Oh yeah, you did. You did. And then he followed you to the next show. And you woke up next to him in bed.
Ooh, okay. All right. Yay. Okay. Well, have a good show. I love you.
Love you too. Bye, Chelsea.
Bye.
Okay, peers and queers, that's Chelsea Bearce. If you want to send her some coin, but don't send her biological nursing liquid, because she's full of it. She has stock. She's surplused on biological nursing liquid, razor blades, and sizable diamond rings. So maybe just send money to her Venmo, because that's better than all 3 of those other things that she's getting. And with that, we're going to go with our interview guest for the evening. He self-proclaimed, but I'm not going to argue with this statement because I think it might be true. And if you don't like it, you can fight us on the internet. The best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Peers and queers, give it up for Thai Rivera. Maybe. Oh, well, he likes to create suspense. Ty, if you can hear me, we're ready for you.
I can hear you. I just thought Cliffy was going on before me.
Oh, no.
So
he had to drop out.
I wasn't made aware of this, so I'm trying to make sure, put my computer on. I was listening to you guys on the phone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you need more time?
Just a few minutes so I can actually log on my computer.
Okay. Take your time. I'll bring Chelsea back, and when you're ready, we'll see you, and we'll come back.
Okay.
Hey, Chelsea. No? Well, side note, viewers, I can carry 2 hours of talking all by myself. There's a reason I don't go on dates with little men that can talk for 2 hours, because it would just be a fight. Shall we bring back Chelsea? Yeah. We'll bring back Chelsea. Hey, Chelsea, want to come back? Yeah, come on back. You're here. We can see you.
I'm muted. Okay, there we go. I'm unmuted by host now. Okay.
So when you...
First of all, bitch, you just gave me a read while I was off the screen, and how dare you? You were like, there's a reason why I don't go on dates with short little men for 2 hours. Da, 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 da. Don't you dare read me when I'm off the screen. Absolutely.
That's not a read of you. That's a read of me. You're nice. I wouldn't be that nice.
All right. Okay.
And there's other reasons in that statement. But I was thinking, so 17 words. So you actually, you don't, it's not a normal thing for somebody to start counting the words they're saying. So at some point he was talking so much, you had to go back and say, how many words have I said? I've said this, and that.
It's not like I went into the date and I was like, okay, let me count how many words I'm going to say on this date. I've never had that thought. But then when I heard where the conversation was going and how he was just taking over, and it was not about me at all. I've never had someone who finds out what I do and has not asked me one question about it. I feel like I feel like I don't live a very normal, quote unquote, whatever normal is, you know, or like, I feel like my life is very unique. And I was very interested in the fact that he had nothing to ask me about my life. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I just find that, you know, people who do stand-up comedy, like people who don't do that are enthralled by it. They think it's very, very interesting.
Oh,
you know, and they want to know about it.
Yeah.
And they want to give you a joke to use in your skit, which makes me want to kill myself. But you know, like stuff like that. Like they find it interesting. It's a different kind of life. You know, I mean, I make cakes. I make cakes with little dicks on them, and then they go viral. Like it's like I don't have a normal life, you know. And so the fact that he didn't want to talk about that at all is very interesting. And so when he was talking, I had to think back, and I was like, what did I say? And that's when I counted. And that's pretty bad. If your date is counting the words that she said while you're talking, I mean, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had a thought. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I have a friend, a couple, actually, and when I talk to them, I'll say, like, what's going on with you guys? And they're like, nothing. We're boring. Tell us about your life. Your life is weird. So I totally relate with that because I don't know. And all he had to talk about was small businesses. Which,
yeah, but I also, like, I really swear to God, I think that he was just, I think he was just longing for any sort of human interaction. You know, like, he does own a restaurant, okay? And he was telling me all about the customers that he had that week. And I was like, this is not interesting to me. Like, this is not what we talk about on a first date, you know? And I just feel like when you go on a first date, it's just you're feeling each other out. And if you go in like a fucking steamroller and you're talking about things that have nothing to do with the person that you are on the date with, then you're alienating the situation, you're completely pushing them out, and it doesn't become about them. I don't know. I also think when you get older, I feel like your standards get a little bit higher in dating. You know what I mean? I feel like your standards get higher, but you also, because you're older and you've gone through shit, you come in with way more baggage than you ever had in your life. So not only do you have higher standards of who you want to go on dates with, but finding someone with baggage that goes with your baggage is a much harder task to do. It's way harder. And that's what happens when you date when you're older. You know, it's just getting harder and harder. And it's not like the window's getting smaller or smaller. It's just the people that fit into that fucking window are getting fewer and fewer. That's what I think. So
I love you for so many reasons, and if you watch the whole show, you'll understand exactly that, because I feel like you set it all up.
I just think I should go on more dates and then just bring it to the table and we can just rate them. Like, it'll just be a new fucking rating system of the awful fucking guys I waste my time with, but I do it for comedic value for you and the 7 people watching.
Sometimes there's over 200. So,
bitch, I'm on Twitch right now and it says 7. So don't think that I'm just getting that fucking number out of the sky. Like, it's right here. It's right here.
Hey, I'm just going off of previous YouTube allotment counts. I don't know the words. Okay. But for the 7 people and me, we would appreciate to hear about your dating life.
Got it.
So thank you for coming back again. And I'll talk to you next week.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. Love you. Okay, so my fault, Peers and Queers, for not getting the message to Ty. That I sent the message, but to the wrong place. And so once again, I will give him an introduction. He is the best LGBTQ comic in the world. Peers and Queers, give it up for Thai Rivera.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Can everybody hear me? Am I coming in all right?
You are coming in fine.
Okay.
Do you?
Yeah, it's Thai Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. That's the way it's said.
Oh, okay.
Just so everybody knows. Chelsea, I love Chelsea. I was looking forward to seeing Cliffy's World because at Cliffy's World on Instagram, because I've actually been following him forever. Like, we've been following each other for years now, and I don't know what his voice sounds like. I don't know anything about him.
Oh,
I just
no.
know. Yeah, and so I was excited to actually at least online meet him, you know?
Well, I can, he was feeling sick, but I can hit him up and see if he wants to come online and meet
Oh,
you.
good. Next time, you
Okay.
know, let him be sick. Let her die. Do what she's got to do.
She had a rough day.
We've got priorities. Everybody plans their Sunday differently. If that bitch wants to die, let her do it.
Do you ever?
I'm all for rights and people doing what they want to do.
Do you ever? Do you ever date?
Not libertarian. I don't even know what it means technically.
do you ever date for comedy? Do you date for material?
If you know my dating life, you would think that. I could see how that would be something people think, but no, that's not usually the plan.
I think that would be my life too if people were to hear about my dating life. But you know, that's Chelsea's. So if you ever want to do it, we could all just date for material and talk about it. It'd be weird.
I'm down. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at this point. I don't take dating seriously. I don't know what this lighting is like, and I have a bruise under, I think, this eye because I got popped a little too close with the needle earlier in the week. So we're working through that. I don't think they're gonna make a Hallmark movie about it though, or a Lifetime story, but I feel like it should be. You know, like part of my face got paralyzed after I had silicone taken out, and then I had to learn to suck dick again, but I don't think that's the kind of inspiration anybody's looking for. So, you know, are we a G-rated show? I didn't even ask. I don't know what we're doing.
You're spot on with talking about
Okay.
learning how to suck dick. That's okay. If the parents don't want the kids to know, that's when they cover their eyes.
Okay, I just put me on full screen because I'm not the best with Zoom, and I just put me on full screen, and now I feel so much better about all of this.
Yes, you look great, and the lighting is fine.
Thank you.
How have you been during the pandemic?
Great. I mean, like when everybody was going crazy trying to get toilet paper, I immediately jumped on Grindr because I didn't know when I was going to be able to get dick next. And so I made this happen. I ended up hooking up with a bunch of dudes, but it was safe because we didn't face each other, and it was lovely.
I'm glad to hear it's been working out that way. Another thing that actually reminds me of your podcast, Unbothered, because I listened to the episode right after this all started, when toilet paper was not available. How's Unbothered been going?
Unbothered has been going really well. One of the best things about Unbothered that's happened is over the couple of years that I've been doing it. Well, let me first apologize to everybody. I'm a little sporadic in the way that I upload to Unbothered because I'm one of those weird people, sort of from the Stella Emanuel school where I do things on signs from God. And so if God doesn't tell me to upload a podcast, I don't upload a podcast, and that's just the way it works. So sometimes the people that listen get a little bit like, when are you going to put another one out? And I'm like, well, talk to God about that, because right now I've got no signs that I'm supposed to do anything. But as far as the way it's been going, when I do post, is people really do love it because a lot more people have started to understand like the way that I think, and understand that like one thing I think people have trouble really wrapping their minds around when you're not either white or black is that you can have different opinions when it comes to race and not necessarily be racist. Like sometimes that'll come from different exposure or the people you hang out with or the neighborhoods you grew up in, stuff like that. You know, so at first when I would say certain things regarding issues of black and white, when it comes to race, people would get mad at me and be like, you're so racist. And then now over the years, people have gotten a better understanding. And I'm sure there's some people that still think that, but for the most part, the majority of people really seem to understand where I'm coming from. And then also the other thing that happens with me and Unbothered is people don't always, I don't know if people think it's something I do for my act or what they think, but there's people that like will question me being gay because I have certain opinions that aren't necessarily in line with the LGBTQ plus community always. But I think that comes more from the listeners' lack of exposure to LGBT people, because if you know a lot of LGBT people, you know that I'm not really that different in the way that every LGBTQ person I know kind of agrees with certain parts and then doesn't agree with certain parts, and maybe they're not as vocal about it as I am, but it's something that a lot of us, you know, deal with as far as our relationship with the LGBTQ plus community.
So I actually did a bad job there of telling the viewers and listeners and watchers, Unbothered is your podcast. So if they're like, wait, what are they talking about? That is a podcast. Where can they find that?
Unbothered by Thai Rivera. They can find it on Apple. You know, they can find it on Stitcher. They can find it on YouTube. If they just search Unbothered by Thai Rivera on Google, they'll be able to find it. Or they can go to my website, which is either ThaiRivera.com or AmericasFavoriteFag.com.
So one thing you just mentioned was a lot of people want your viewpoint to be what their viewpoint is just because you share an orientation. But you are unapologetic in sharing your viewpoint and kind of just telling what you feel. I think that's awesome. What do you think? Why do you think it's so important to tell the truth so fully and resoundfully?
Well, when it comes to politics and LGBT, you know, I think that's important because when we come off seeming like a monolith, it makes it more intimidating, and it also makes it less relatable for the average person. And the last thing we need in the community, in my opinion, is another person that's preaching to the choir. So there's plenty of people that perform specifically for gay people. There's plenty of people that never leave like gay bars when it comes to like doing stand up or that kind of stuff, or specialty shows, which I do those as well. Like I've done your show, which is an LGBT show. But for me, I think that since I'm really good at breaking things down for people when they don't necessarily understand things to do with LGBT. So I think it's more important for a person like me to be a part of a bridge, even though I'll take a lot of hits that way. And so, like, in my opinion, being honest about those kinds of things and not always agreeing with everything actually helps make it more relatable for an audience that we otherwise wouldn't have an ear from.
I think it, yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And one of my favorite things that I've heard you say is sometimes you have to educate people before you can offend them.
Yeah, and that's true. You know, like sometimes people don't know what I'm talking about. Like when I talk about trans, like that's something like some activists have gotten mad at me for, but activists don't really influence my thinking because activists usually don't live in real life like I do. For the most part, activists live inside of LGBT centers and on the computer. And so they're used to these people that will, like, you know, if a person identifies as trans and they come to terms with that, or, you know, when a person first comes to terms with the fact that they are trans, they'll go on every blog they can possibly go on to find out about this thing because it's what they are. But when you're talking to the average person that's living in middle America, has no connection with trans people, doesn't at all feel trans, or, you know, like has no connection at all with it, then they're not necessarily going to go to a blog. So when it comes to a person like me, yeah, I may say stuff that the community doesn't necessarily agree with right off the bat or understand. But what they don't realize is that a lot of these people will follow me on social media or talk to me after the show. And that's where they'll ask real questions. And then I can completely educate them on, you know, like dealing with trans people, which I have so many trans friends that, like, I don't even know where the activist types get this idea that everybody's so sensitive. You know, like to me, it's like, no, I know a lot of really strong trans people. I know a lot of trans people that if you really disrespect them, they will literally beat you up in the street. So for me, I'm not dealing with the average at home, only reading blogs trans person, you know, and I don't necessarily cater to that. And I'm not gonna cater to that. Like those people can stay on the computer as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Well, I mean, and you have a lot of experience with all sorts of different people from the community. So for the activists that come after you, to imply that you don't know what you're talking about or how you could be affecting people is kind of I want to say myopic of them, because they're judging you for not knowing someone's story when they themselves don't know your story, right?
And that's exactly it. That's exactly the problem. You know, like a lot of people jump in and they'll start telling me, well, you're just a typical cisgender gay man. And it's like, I would not ever put myself in the category of typical on anything. And like when it comes to my relationship with trans people, you know, trans people were some of the first people I actually met in the community. Like, you know, I came out when I was 17, and you know, I was hanging out outside of a bar at one point, you know, like one of the first probably 5 times that I ever went to a gay bar. And all of a sudden this car zooms up and it's like a Pontiac Grand Prix, and these 2 really beautiful Native American trans women get out of it. And those turn out to be lifelong friends. Like now I've been friends with them my entire adult life, you know, these 2 girls. And one of my friends, Jessica, that I met afterwards, she's also a Native American trans woman. She's the first person I ever heard the term pre-op transsexual from, was because I didn't know, you know, I was a kid and I didn't know, you know, what to address her as. I knew that they had said that they were offended by the word drag queen because, you know, some of the guys outside of the bar, the other gay men, had referred to them as drag queens, or DQs was what they were calling them in this particular instance. And one of my friends was like, you know, yeah, I'm not a drag queen, but I didn't have time in that moment to ask them what that was, or what they identify as, really, because I knew what a drag queen was. But later on, I asked my friend Jessica, and then she's one of the people that educated me. Then I moved to Las Vegas, you know, when I was a couple years older. And then I became friends with 2 other trans women, and they're also now lifelong friends of mine, you know, that I still interact with regularly. And one of them, her name is Lisa, and she doesn't necessarily agree with me when it comes to politics and stuff like that, but we don't troll each other and we don't get into it because we know each other on a different level. Like, you know, we've known each other for close to 20 years now, if not over 20 years. Yeah, over 20 years, technically, we've known each other. So, like, you know, arguing about politics would do no good. If she ever wanted to talk to me about anything, I'm open to it. But, you know, we don't argue.
Well, and I think that's something that I miss from, you know, 20 years ago or my childhood. When you don't agree with someone's politics, it's okay. I see all of your posts, and I like them all, I think, with the like button. But I don't necessarily agree with all of your political stances, but I love you as a person. And you make really good points sometimes that make me, even if I don't agree with you at the end, it makes me think to reinforce what I believe. So I always appreciate that.
No, and I appreciate you being open, and I know you don't agree with everything I say, and that's not ever the point of anything I do. Like, I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna rally people so everybody can agree with me on this, and then we can all vote this way. I put my ideas out there, and I tell people that all the time, because people will sometimes go on my Facebook and look at who's liked a post and then judge people off of that. And I'm like, no, don't do that, because a lot of the people that like my stuff don't necessarily like what I'm saying or agree with it. They're just letting me know that they heard me, or some of them will put the laugh emoji because they could hear it in my voice. So even if they didn't agree with it, they thought it was funny. And so, you know, there's a lot of that going on. So just because somebody likes something that's on my page doesn't necessarily mean that they're in line with it, or that's the way they're going to vote too, or the way that they think.
Right. No, I mean, people, I think you didn't say this a couple minutes ago, but I think you might agree. People are too sensitive when it comes to the internet.
People are way too sensitive, and that's another reason that I allow a lot of what I allow. You know, like if I were anybody else, and I know maybe a lot of your audience hasn't already seen me or doesn't know what my social media looks like, but if I were anybody else, a lot of the stuff that happens on my social media when it comes to the way people talk to me would be considered bullying, body shaming, like all of the politically correct terms for things that we're not supposed to do. People do to me regularly. The same people that hide behind these things do them to me all the time. But I don't make a big deal of it, because my point and what I want to show a lot of people is you can be stronger than that. You don't have to break down every time somebody says something mean about you on the internet. A lot of times when people judge me on the internet, they'll bring up like plastic surgery, and I always feel like, you are genetically ugly. Why would I care what you think about anything? Like, yeah, you can say I fucked this up with plastic surgery, and maybe I'd even agree with you. But at the same time, that was the best your genetics could do. Everybody knows before I did anything, absolutely fucking beautiful, made all of my money off of it. So I'm not really worried at this age, especially because that's another thing people bring up. They'll bring up like, you're old. And I'm like, I never said I was young. Like, people put that on me all the time. They're like, you look young. But like, nothing I've even done in the vein of plastic surgery has been to remain youthful. You know, I mean, like, I had silicone ripped out, which I mentioned, and sometimes I'll do things to even out my face, but that's just for pictures because a lot of people want to take pictures with me, or, you know, like that, take pictures of me on stage, that kind of stuff. So, you know, for me, it's like people assuming a lot of things and then putting that on me and acting like I've said that before. And it's like, I never said any of that. So I don't really know why that's the way you come at me, but you're welcome to come at me however you want to, you know. I mean, like, I don't control the internet. I will block people. That's something I do, you know. And it's like, for me, if I don't care for what you have to say about me, then why should I have to see it or read it? Like, it's not, you know, it's nothing for us to really argue about or get into it over. It's just like, yeah, I just didn't want to hear you. I don't care what you have to say about anything, so I blocked you. You know, other people can do it to me. I would never notice though, because I don't pay attention to that.
I don't know if anyone's blocked me, but I can relate to people thinking that, like, a lot of times people say to me like, oh, you're only, you know, 24, and I'm like, oh, God bless you. But I'm actually like closer to twice that age. So I feel like sometimes I get judged for that too. And I never put myself out there to be, you know, in my 20s. But a lot of the times people hold me to that. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I didn't expect to talk about that. But they'll hold me to that standard of like me pretending to be in my 20s. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm from the 80s. So I can relate.
Yeah, and you know, like, I've talked about that before. Like, when it comes to age specifically, I don't usually talk about my age, only because I've noticed, like, when people find out you're either older or younger than you are, they either assign to you that you're particularly wise or you're dumber than them. So I prefer people just meet me as the person I am. Just like, you know, I don't usually say I'm gay until there's a reason for it. Like, I don't usually introduce myself as, hi, I'm Thai Rivera, I'm gay. You know, I mean, like, I usually meet people and I'm just me, and then eventually it comes up in conversation, or we talk about relationships, or however it ends up coming up, and then I introduce it then, you know. So until there's a real reason for me to disclose any information about myself, I don't really just like put it out there, you know. I mean, like, I guess maybe in kindergarten we did that kind of thing where you had to say your name, your age, and you know what I mean? Like, you used to have to stand up at the beginning of the class and say your name, your age, what you like to do, that kind of stuff. But
right.
As adults, it's just not what we do, you know?
So shifting for a moment to something lighter, how's Bijou?
Bijou is great. She's very bitchy with me all the time. You want to come over here? Let me pick you up real quick. Let me see you. Hey, get over here. She's not happy with me because last time I did a Zoom show, I auctioned her off. And I asked if anybody wanted her. And I started the bidding at, I think it was like $50.
Oh, wow.
You know, yeah, some people sent me some down payments, but
I mean, it's a tough quarantine. You got to make money how you can. So Bijou's got to pull her weight.
Huh?
I said she's got to pull her weight.
Especially since they charged me an extra $10 a month on my rent, plus the extra deposit I had to pay for this little puppy.
I hate pet rent. I think pet rent's the dumbest because it's like, why? Charge a deposit or charge pet rent, but don't charge both.
Yeah, I had to pay a non-refundable deposit, and then it's like $10 a month. So $10 a month isn't that bad, though. I just give her a hard time about it because she never pays.
Right? Put her to work. So we talked about Unbothered. We talked about your social media. I haven't figured out how to cut it cute yet, but I brought my shirt. I wanted to talk about the Laughed Out Queer Comedy Festival.
The Laughed Out Queer Comedy Festival. We had it January. Back in January was when we had the first ever Laughed Out Queer Comedy Festival. And I created this comedy festival my friends Jocelyn Sharp and Stephen Roberts. Jocelyn, bisexual woman, Stephen Roberts, gay man, both comics, both hilarious. We put on this comedy festival together, and the reason that I started the comedy festival was because I noticed there are a lot of like LGBT stand-ups now that are kind of in a position that I've been in a lot, where it's like, you know, since they don't always say the things that they're quote unquote supposed to say as LGBT voices, they don't get asked to do certain things and they get less opportunities for work through the LGBTQ community. So I was like, let me put on a festival that'll make sure some of these voices get heard, and then invite out industry that can actually hire them, like people that will actually work them. Because sometimes you go to festivals, and this is nothing against anybody, but it's just sometimes this is the situation when you go to festivals, and there's industry that's really not going to do anything with you unless you can be on TV, you know, unless you're wanting to be an actor, that kind of stuff. And so not everybody's looking for that. Some people actually want to be on the road and that kind of comedian. So if you want to be more of a road comic and like actually start working, then that's what I would like to see you get on the path for. So I created this comedy festival. They helped me bring it to life, Jocelyn Sharp and Stephen Roberts. And it was so much fun, so well attended. Everybody that came, including our industry, you know, we had local industry, we had industry from other states, other parts of the country, and everybody was surprised at how well this was run for a first-time festival.
I have certainly never produced a festival. I produce a show, and that is so much work. I can't imagine what producing a festival is like. What goes into producing a comedy festival?
You know, stuff that you never would think about, like even things like the shirt that you have, you know, like we did 2 different kinds of shirts. One of them was specifically for the people that had entered the festival, you know, had submitted and like actually been accepted into the festival. And that was like a team shirt. So there's like that, like designing the merch for it. There's dealing with the printers. There's also like figuring out the venue. There's also figuring out transportation. There's figuring out like what you're gonna do for special events, because like, you know, you can have the festival, but sometimes it's better for people networking. Like, you know, we had an afternoon barbecue on the Saturday so that people could, you know, get to know the industry and stuff like that. Sunday night, we had a really big headliner, and Sunday wasn't at all. Sunday was Laughed Out Presents and not a festival night, even though we had a couple of comics from the festival on, but we had Tim Dillon headline, and Tim Dillon is just blowing up everywhere, and thankfully he was willing to do it. But he came out on the Sunday night, so there's dealing with that. You know, there's dealing with the talent, there's dealing with the hotel and making sure that, you know, everybody gets their room discounts. This year being our first year, we weren't able to put the comedians up, but we were able to get them a discount at the Stratosphere. So not next year, but the year after, because I think COVID is going to pretty well screw us this time around. But next festival, I should say, we plan to be able to put the comics up. So there's also that, you know, which comes to raising money. And then there's also like dealing with ticketing. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot more than even I thought.
So I don't ask this in a judgy way at all, but are you not going to do a virtual? If you can't do the festival in person, are you just going to wait until you can do it in person again?
Yeah, I personally like live stand-up comedy. It's the reason that I've only done one Zoom show so far as stand-up went. You know, I've done other interviews, but as far as stand-up goes, I did Marga Gomez. She has her show. Mm-hmm. And so I did that for her on Cinco de Mayo, but it's just because I love Marga and we're really good friends. I'm not saying that I'd never do another one, but it's just not the best for me.
Yeah, no, I've done a couple. Timing is weird. It's especially if you like to feel your way into which jokes work, and certainly you're a better comedian than I am, so I'm sure you'd be fine. But for me, I like to kind of feel where I am with the audience, and you can't do that with Zoom. So,
well, you know, it's not only the timing, just like what jokes you go into, but also if you like to do tags, which I like to tag a lot of my jokes. A lot of the tags, you'll wait for that perfect moment you know, where the audience has kind of stopped laughing, but they're still got a little bit of a giggle in them. And then you hit that tag, and then that tag really just takes the joke to the next level. And when you cut that out, and then I can't see your expression or feel when you're actually, you know, stopping with the giggle, I mean, like, you can still try to feel it and do it, you know, just kind of by your own sense. But really, I like that connection too.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. And I've been pushing for somebody to come on and do a segment with comedy vocabulary, but just in case anyone's watching is like tags, a tag is a part of a joke that comes after the punchline, just like you explained, and it kind of enhances the punchline and the joke altogether. So
yeah, the tag should be like the kicker for your joke. So your joke was here, then you say the tag, and then your joke goes to here. And so, you know, like, yeah, I like doing tags a lot.
yeah. So the next time that you do the Laughed Out festival, you're going to be bigger and better, and you're going to wait in person. Any other changes from the first festival to the second one that you're planning on making?
We just want to, well, we did it all at one venue, which is LA Comedy Club inside of the Stratosphere here in Las Vegas. So we had every show there. Next time we do it, we might be open to like including another venue, but I personally wanted to keep it at just one venue, make it even better the second time, and then after that, consider like checking out different venues or like, you know, expanding a little bit more. I want to keep it so it's as convenient for everybody as possible, and so that we're able to do the job that we have to do in the best way possible. Because between me, Jaws, and Steven, it, like, we really work like a machine, like the way we were able to work together, you know, like I'm like the king of things that nobody's going to think of, you know, like, because Jaws has her strong suit. She's very strong in the technical side. She's very strong in like the organizational side. And then Steven is really good at like, you know, dealing with people, translating a lot of the stuff that I say, because sometimes I talk to Steven like a ghetto boy, and then he'll like, oh, maybe this is a better way to say that. And I'll be like, you're right, that's a better way to say that. So let's go with that. So Steven does a lot of that. But me, what I'm good at is seeing what needs to get done and just zooming in and taking care of it, you know, without anybody having to ask me or tell me what it is I need to do. And so in some cases, it's like, you know, we did a drag show one night. The late night show on Friday was a drag show. And so when we were doing that drag show, you know, I know so many queens just from being around so long that, one, I was in charge of booking the queens, and two, I was really involved with, like, you know, or in charge of making sure the queens had drinks or anything they need, because you know how a lot of drag queens love to have their cocktails.
I do.
And yeah, and so I'll zoom through and make sure that I get through the line, you know, to get them a drink right away and make sure they have everything they need. And like, that's a lot of what I do. Also, like, you know, a lot of the different connections we had as far as industry and stuff like that, that came from my years of being on the road. So, you know, when it comes to taking care of like the VIPs and the industry, a lot of that has more to do with me, even though I think people wouldn't necessarily think of me in a customer service, like in a customer service position. But, you know, when it comes to like, if I like people, if I respect people, then I'm really good at taking care of them. So all of that stuff, I'm, you know, and so Steven and Jaws could take care of all the, you know, the technical stuff that they had to take care of. And then I handle all of the like more people aspect of everything.
Well, people should definitely look out for when you have the festival, and they should come from near and far to watch it, because you had some really great comedians, and it sounds like it was a really great time. And I will try to make it to watch next time myself.
Yeah, Debbie Gutierrez, who's a really, really great comic. She's got a, like, that was the other thing. I wanted to have Debbie on from the very beginning. I knew I wanted to have Debbie, because Debbie represents something that you don't usually hear from, especially in comedy, and that's a mom. And she's not, you know, an LGBT specific mom. It's just her kids. One of them is trans and the other identifies as pan. So, you know, she's able to talk about that and kind of her growing experience from like a mom point of view. And she even, you know, has like she has a mommy type vibe, you know, and she, like, that's part of her thing. And it's really nurturing and it's really great. And I think it's something that's also helpful for other LGBT parents to get to hear that voice and be like, okay, maybe I'm not that different, and maybe I'm not as stupid as my kids tell me. Because that's one place that I think LGBT kids need to be a little bit more patient with their parents, is some of them are willing to accept it. They just need a minute to wrap their mind around it. And if they call you by the wrong pronoun or even by the wrong name, you have to remember that they've been raising you for 18 to 20 years under this other name and this other, identity. And so now they're trying to make that shift. And every once in a while, if they've messed up, if it's an honest mistake, let it go. You don't have to make a big deal about it. Like if they're disrespecting you, then that's something to discuss. But as far as honest mistake goes, let that happen.
Oh yeah, my mom's Italian, and I get called by my siblings' names all the time, and there's no disrespect. It's just, and I've done that before where I've called someone that I've been dating. If I'm really frustrated with them, I'll call them my dog's name, because usually I'm mad, I'll scold my dog, and so just the wrong name comes out. I don't mean anything by it. It's just an accident.
Oh yeah. So that's why I kind of tell people to it's so hard to talk to anybody now, and give any real advice, that I kind of stay away from people in a lot of ways, even though that probably doesn't sound the best, unless I know people are really good at taking things the way that I say, the way that I mean them. And it's because in a lot of cases, it's like, I'm not trying to disrespect you, and I'm not saying that you should get used to people misgendering you or disrespecting you. I'm just saying, in this particular instance, when it comes to your mother, if she accidentally, and I said the word accidentally, uses the wrong name or the wrong pronoun, how about you cut her a little bit of slack and let her get used to, exactly what it is that's going on.
Well, you don't have to say it. I'll say what I'm thinking, and that's sometimes even with strangers, they're well-meaning and well-intentioned, and if whatever it is, if somebody were to say to me, so I identify as a drag princess, right? Now, that's not a normal thing, and some people might say, oh, she's a drag queen. Now, obviously, I'm going to use this as an example because I don't want to offend anybody that's watching. So if anyone were to say, oh, she's a drag queen, and then I said, excuse me, I'm a drag princess, and I chewed their head off, and I got mad at them for it, maybe I'm turning someone away that would otherwise be really into drag queens and drag princesses and learning about it, but instead I'm giving them such a bad experience by biting their head off for misidentifying me as a drag queen. Like, maybe it's a good teachable moment. Maybe it's a good moment for me to say, oh, actually I'm a drag princess. But, and I can just leave it at that. And if they want to know more, they can. But I don't need to be mean about it because they don't know. They don't know any better. So I don't know.
Yeah, and that's so important, is letting people get a good introduction to whatever it is you are. That's why I'll put up with so much when it comes to people not being the most educated when it comes to gay, because I specifically am a gay man. So when people don't really get it, because some of the places I perform are rural enough that they just don't have a big population, or they don't have a lot of gay men that are as open as I am. So when people ask me what would seem like ignorant questions, or they another thing people will do is use the quote unquote wrong word, sometimes people will still accidentally use the dreaded F word, which I don't have a problem with that word at all, but I just don't want you to get demonetized or whatever would happen on this video. But when they accidentally use that word, or I'm not particularly a fan of the word queer, but it is one of the commonly accepted and politically correct terms for what I am, so I'm not going to make an argument about that. But when people use words that I don't find the most flattering, I still will be patient and just let them know at a later time. Usually I'll let them get away with it because I know that they're new to talking to me. But after we've talked a few times, I'll be like, oh yeah, well, this is the term that I would prefer, or this probably sounds a little less abrasive and will keep you from losing your job one day.
I think that's a good lesson. So what do you prefer if someone meets you, just since we're talking about it?
I'm a fag. That's what I am. And I prefer that term. If people say gay, I'm fine with it. A lot of people will say that I'm gay, and I'm fine with that, but I prefer the term fag.
See, that brings up another interesting point where words that people fought for, and reclaimed 30 years ago, sometimes now they're offensive, and younger people who are the age that we look, I'll say that, they don't want those words being used, but they don't have context for when that word was a sense of it to be called that at one point was, you could be proud of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and here's my biggest take on it. Like, I do jokes on stage, but when it comes down to it, if you're trans, if you're non-binary, whatever you identify as, if we are talking and you tell me that that's what you are, I'm going to respect that, and I'm not going to give you any kickback. I'm not going to be like, well, how can you be non-binary when that's not a thing? Like, technically, you would have to be one or the other. Scientifically, biologically, you would have to be one or the other. I could go into that, but I never do. Instead, I just take people, whatever you would feel most comfortable with me addressing you as is the way I'm going to address you. So if that's the way I come at it, and I'm completely genuine when I say that, I'm willing to respect whatever it is you are or however it is you identify, and then I say I'm a fag and you give me kickback against that, now we're not on a level playing field anymore. Now I'm treating you with the respect that you're not giving me in return. And at that point, I can't be responsible for your feelings. And I'm going to do what I think you should do, which is just not talk to you. Like, a lot of times people will try to fight that beast when somebody like misgenders them or disrespects them. My thing is, the minute somebody disrespects me, they're not in my life anymore. And that's the way I feel like other people should do it too. Like, you don't have to turn it into a whole cause or your life's mission unless you just want to. But for me, none of it's that serious. I'm just going to completely cut you out, and then I'm going to go back to doing what I'm doing. And that's including the people that will, like I said, if you still refer to me as gay, I don't have a problem with that even a little bit. I don't insist that people call me a fag because I know some people aren't comfortable with that word, and straight people don't want to get in trouble for using that word. So I can understand the reasons that people wouldn't necessarily, choose to address me that way. And I'm cool with that. But if you're going to tell me that I can't identify that way, or that's not acceptable for me to be this, then that's when I'm going to be like, okay, well then I guess we don't need to be friends.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me. I wanted to ask some questions about live comedy, which I know I miss and you miss. What's the most interesting venue you performed in?
I don't even know if this would be considered a venue, but the most interesting situation I've probably ever been in was I performed on a flatbed truck in San Felipe, Mexico for an event called Wolfstock.
I think that counts as a venue. Why were you on a flatbed truck?
Because it was Mexico. I don't know. I say because it was Mexico, but I don't know. It was just this event, and that's where they had us. And it was me, a comedian by the name of Eleanor Kerrigan, and I don't remember the names of the other two comedians, but there were two other comedians on the show. But Eleanor Kerrigan, who I absolutely love, touring headliner, really funny person, and she was on the show with me, and we were laughing because we had farmer's tan by the end of the show because it was at like 4 p.m. that we had to do this.
And jump up on a flatbed truck. Was there a mic stand up there?
Yeah, they had a mic stand. It was set up to be sort of like a stage, except for they had chickens in cages, which that was a little bit weird.
A little bit.
There were chickens in cages on the stage.
Oh,
with a truck.
Okay, I thought they were just in the area, but they were on the truck with you.
Yeah, in cages on the flatbed.
It sounds a little bit like what I would imagine if like Street Fighter was like coming up with a background for you. Like, what do you like about stand-up comedy?
That I get to see people at their absolute best and their absolute happiest. Like, I don't have to deal with the shitty side of them usually. Like, when they're at a comedy show, they want to have a good time, they want to get some laughs, and I am good at that part of the job. I'm good at making people laugh, whether it's crowd work or actual material or a mix of the two. Doesn't matter what people want me to do, I do it, and I'm good at it, and I like seeing people actually be happy.
What's your favorite city for comedy?
Probably Denver.
Really?
Denver has the Comedy Works. Then there's like 45 minutes from Denver, I think it's 45 minutes, there's Colorado Springs. And that's another place that I really like performing. Colorado Springs has a venue called Looney's Comedy Corner. And I plan to record my album there. We were actually supposed to record my album there in April, but with COVID, obviously we weren't able to. But that's one of my favorite venues. So yeah, favorite state probably for comedy would be Colorado. Favorite city would probably be Denver. And then Colorado Springs would be a close second.
Good to know. I have a friend that lives in Denver, and I've been trying to take my show there for so long. I didn't know it was such a great place for comedy.
Oh yeah, it's great. And it's also great if you're LGBT because, you know, they haven't gotten overly carried away and gone overboard like SJW with it, but they're very open to LGBT in Denver in general. It's really nice and borderline hippie style.
Good to know. Are there any cities that you are not in a hurry to get back to?
Chicago.
Really?
I don't like Chicago because that city, I don't know their exact history on everything when it comes to race, but for some reason that city chooses to self-segregate in a lot of ways. And I don't like performing in audiences where they're not comfortable joking about different races and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it was like, you know, because you would get like, say, you know, I'm doing a show and it's full audience, pretty full audience. It's predominantly white, and then there's a couple of black people there, which like I don't do a lot of jokes that, you know, are pertaining to black people, but I do have a couple. And so like, you know, when I do jokes about black people, then the white people feel like it's not okay to laugh, and the black people are laughing because they understand that it's just a joke, but because of the self-segregation, they're not sure where the lines are or what people are allowed to get away with. Then there's the fact that I'm Mexican, and I didn't see a lot of Mexicans at any of the shows that I did when I was in Chicago. And so then I joke about being Mexican, and everybody's just looking at me like, is it okay for him to say this? And I feel like I am Mexican. So I don't know who you're trying to run this by. Like, you know, what do you think I'm doing up here? And so I really didn't have a good, and I've been to Chicago a few times now, and I really have never had a great time there. I've had great shows there, but not a great time.
Huh. What time of year were you going?
Let's see. The last time I went, I want to say it was spring, and the time before that, I want to say it was winter, and then the time before that, it was probably summer.
So September is usually the best time for out-of-towners to go to Chicago because the weather is miserable. You do a lot of comedy on the road. Do you have any tips for newer comics who are starting to go out on the road?
The most important thing for newer comics, in my opinion, because be patient with yourself. That would be one thing, you know, because you're going to find out that some stuff that worked in your hometown doesn't necessarily work on the road. So I would say be patient with yourself as far as that goes. But above everything else, like if I were to give actual advice, it would be just to be professional and be easy to work with, because like you end up moving faster in stand-up if you have a headliner that likes working with you and takes you to a lot of places, because it's hard to piece together gigs as a feature, which is usually what you're going to go out as a first, or a host. It's hard to piece those gigs together like when you're doing it just independent and getting thrown on shows, because more and more headliners are starting to bring their own people with them. So if you can get along with somebody well and do stuff that like sometimes goes above and beyond, like one of the first people to really take me on the road was Joe Coy. And I was on the road with him for 1.5 years, and he was very good to me. But I also made sure that I was willing to do anything I could do to help him do what he had to do. So if it was after the show and he's signing shirts and I'm handing out cards, because he always insisted that I hand out cards so that I could build my social media following, I'm handing out cards. I noticed he just ran out of, like, you know, his Sharpie isn't working anymore and he's got to sign autographs for fans. Then I don't mind running back to the office and grabbing more Sharpies, or, you know, like making sure he has stuff he needs before he goes on stage. You know, maybe the waitress is taking a bit too long, and he, like, I remember one time he was having problems with his voice, and he sings during his act. So when he's, you know, having problems with his voice, he needs a little bit of like tea and honey. And so, like, you know, maybe the server isn't attending to the green room the way that they should that night. So I run and go take care of that and make sure that he has what he needs before he goes on stage. Then there's like being on time, not being argumentative, because you really do have to be willing to roll with a lot of stuff and be willing to do everything when it comes to going on stage. Like, there were times when we were working venues and Joe needed me to hurry up and get on stage, even though the audience hadn't fully seated. So I'm having to perform as people are coming in. You know, so that's just something that happens sometimes. So you just have to be ready.
Do you have any tips for like actually being on the road, like snacks in the car or places to stop or don't?
You know, I've slept in a lot of rest areas at this point. I just park under the light and I'm fine. I know that some women are, you know, a little bit scared of sleeping at rest areas. And that's something I can't speak to, you know, because I am a man. So for me, it's a bit different. So if you don't feel that works for you and you're a woman, then, you know, don't listen to that part. But, like, you know, rest areas will help save you money when you're traveling. So that's a good thing. Then as far as snacks go, stuff that'll just keep, like beef jerky, stuff like that. You know, I don't know. There's some kind of feedback coming in.
Yeah, we're getting a little, I don't know. See if we can fix that. How does it sound for you now?
I don't know. It's usually when I start talking that it comes in. It sounds, right now it's all right.
Okay.
It's not coming.
So I have a viewer question. I don't know if you remember my DJ at my show when you did my show.
Yes, I do.
DJ Pocket wants to know who your favorite comedian is and why.
Who is my favorite? That's a really, really good question, and I should have an answer for that. Do I have it in my phone? Because people always ask me this, and you would think that I have like you know, I like George Carlin a lot. I'll tell you that. But yeah, I like George Carlin a lot. Back when she was doing stand-up still, I loved Roseanne Barr. I still like Roseanne Barr, even though she has some crazy opinions and stuff like that. But I love Roseanne Barr. Whoopi Goldberg did more like one-woman show style. It wasn't traditional stand-up, but I liked Whoopi Goldberg a lot. Rita Rudner was always a really good writer, and I always really liked her. As far as people that anybody might kind of know or might not know yet, Sam Tripoli I think is really great. He pushes a lot of boundaries. Tim Dillon, who I mentioned earlier, is absolutely hilarious. Like, you know, he's got a podcast. He does sketches. I mean, like, he's funny on so many levels and so great, and such a nice guy as well. But, like, that's probably... Right now, currently, I would say Tim Dillon is my favorite comic. Timdillon, if anybody wants to look him up, Tim Dillon.
Okay, have to check him out.
Yeah, great.
Is there anything that I'm not smart enough to have asked about that you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like, I had a good time being interviewed by you, and I feel like you asked some pretty good questions, and, you know, let me talk about some stuff that I don't always get to talk about. So that's usually the way I judge questions. You know, it's like, do I feel like I've sat for this interview a million times before? And, like, you know, you seem to be asking things that aren't what everybody would ask, so, you know, it's kept me engaged.
Well, I would also not describe myself as typical. Like, when you said that, I was like, oh, I can relate to that. No one would describe me as typical. But like you, I can't wait for stand-up to come back, and I hope to see you in person and do stand-up. Are you ready for rapid-fire questions?
Yes, but I should tell you, August 8th, I will be in your area. I'm going to be headlining the 40 for 40 contest for Laughs Unlimited.
Oh, hey,
which
okay.
It's being held outside on the patio is the way I've been told, and I haven't checked it out yet, but that's what I'm supposed to be headlining that. So,
well, I can tell you, I haven't gone yet in person, which is stupid because I live like a mile away, so I could walk there. We just had Alex Elkin on, and he's going to be there at the end of August. And then I had Jimmy Earl the week before, and he just did some sets with DJ Sandu. And what they're doing is the crowd has headphones, and they're out in the cobblestone, because Old Sac has the brick street, the one where they don't want me to wear heels and walk around in the street because it would break my ankles. And so the crowd is sitting out there socially distanced, and they can hear you on the headset because the mic, it's like radio tuned to those headsets.
And where are you performing? Are you performing outside or inside?
So you're performing outside on the wood walkway?
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that sounds like basically like having a real audience.
Yeah.
They're just wearing headsets.
No, it is, and I'm going to have DJ on the show hopefully sometime this month, and so we'll have to talk about it, and once I go and watch it in person, I'll have to text you and let you know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because it looks really cool, and I'm excited that you said on the 8th?
Yes, next Saturday.
Oh, okay, wow, so I'll see you soon.
Yes, I will be there.
Okay, cool, I'll be there too. All right. Rapid fire questions with Thai Rivera. Here we go.
Go.
What is your favorite thing about the existence of brunch?
Mimosas.
Bottomless?
Is there any other kind?
Overpriced.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite LGBTQ activist?
Laverne Cox.
Okay. Oh, apparently there's a question from Twitch.
What's it?
So I'm going to stop rapid fire. I'm going to time out. Would you prefer to open a show and pump up the audience, or be the headliner and close it?
I'm always late, so I always want to close it. Also, I'm not a good cheerleader, so I'm not a good opener. So always headline.
Fair enough.
Well, technically, if you really want to know the truth, neither of those two. Feature is the perfect spot. If I could be the highest paid feature in the world, I would do that all the time. Because when you're headliner, sometimes they're too drunk. When you're opener, sometimes they're too tight. And so that feature spot right in the middle is perfect.
Good to know. I always host my show, but one day maybe I can feature. Okay, Laverne Cox. What is your favorite item on the gay agenda?
Is there really a gay agenda?
For this question, there is.
Yeah, I know, but I thought we were all just running around like chickens with our heads cut off. My favorite item on the gay agenda would probably be party, like the party item, because as much as everybody tries to act political in the gay community, there's not a single gay that I know that doesn't love to party.
I'll text you. Well, let's see. Here's a good one. I have a good writer on my show. This is not my question. Which do you think COVID-19 pandemic has affected more, the straight dating scene or the gay dating scene?
Straight dating scene for sure.
I think
they're very honest about that, staying away from each other stuff. Like most of the straight people I know, all the fags I know are like, girl, I'm on Grindr. I got stuff to do. So,
Well, and then New York State was like, hey, glory holes, go for it.
Are they allowing glory holes?
They're not allowing it. They're recommending it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, that's even better.
So, yeah. If you were doing a show tonight, or I guess next Saturday at Laughs Unlimited in Old Sac in Sacramento, what would your walk-up song be?
What would my walk-up song be? I like Pursuit of Happiness by what's his name?
Wiz Khalifa?
DJ something. I can't remember his name. You're really messing with me right now. I'm really slowing down the rapid fire of all this rapid fire.
Well, my DJ will have the answer for us because he watches the show. So he'll tell me probably in 5 seconds the artist. Because DJ Pocket's good like that. Pursuit of Happiness. Oh, here it is.
Not too long ago.
Kid Sci-Fi.
Kid Cudi.
Kid Cudi. Yep. I think Sci-Fi was an autocorrect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's Kid Cudi.
Let's see. What is your favorite show to like a regular recurring show to perform in?
Here in Las Vegas, it's called Hilarious 7. Yeah, I do the Hilarious 7 regularly here. It's held at Notoriety, which is in Fremont Experience. For now, we're closed down on that show as well. There's not a single comedy show. No, I'm lying. There's Chanclas on Wednesdays where they're able to do comedy because they're also a restaurant. But like as far as actual comedy venues and traditional comedy shows, none of them are running right now in Las Vegas. So even Hilarious 7 had to be shut down for a little while.
And that's with John hosting, right?
Yeah, that's John Hilder is the host.
Yeah, I've messaged him and been like, come on my show, but he doesn't read his messages.
I'll hit him up for you.
Okay, thanks.
We're good friends, and he's going to SAC with me next week.
I'm bummed that I didn't know that you were going to be in SAC. I would have just waited and had you in studio for the show.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll have more to talk about by next week. Oh, but that's also the thing. I'm not there for the full weekend. I'm literally there on a turnaround trip. Like I'm headlining the Saturday show, and then Sunday morning, as soon as we wake up, we'll be leaving.
Okay, well, next time you're here for a whole weekend. What's your favorite venue to perform in?
Well, I already mentioned Denver. That's the Comedy Works there. I also like performing at the Tempe Improv quite a bit. I'm from Arizona, so I like the Tempe Improv quite a bit.
Let's see. What's the funniest thing? Oh, this is going to be good. What's the funniest thing an audience member has ever said to you after a show?
People say all sorts of things to me. I talk about everything on stage. So, I do this joke about not wanting to shake hands because, I do a joke about a finger in the ass and like all of that, and like, I don't want to shake hands because I don't want to fuck around and catch pink eye trying to be a polite person. Like that's the gist of the joke. And one night, this really, really old lady walked out, and she was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think you should shake my hand. And so it just made me laugh that she was the last person you'd expect to be talking about having her finger up somebody's ass, but she's the one that told me, and I could not stop laughing because she was so old you would never expect her to even say that, but it had me dying.
Okay, that one I already asked because I also wanted to know your favorite comic. What is your favorite sex position?
It depends on if I'm being top or bottom. If I'm top, then it's doggy style. If I'm bottom, then it's kind of missionary.
I love asking that question because some people answer it just straight, no pun intended, and other people have a funny thing like, oh, on the couch watching TV with ice cream, and it's like, oh, it's always a good answer. What is your favorite position to imagine straight people having sex in?
My favorite for straight people is, I don't know if this is considered a position, but it's a thing, and it's DP. I mean, like, I am so jealous of genetic females, cisgender females, because they have two holes that they can and DP just really intrigues me.
Okay, DP. I have to look that up actually.
You don't know DP? DP is double penetration.
Oh.
And it's usually
Yes, okay, I did know that. I usually hear the whole acronym.
yeah, and gay men also do double penetration, which, like, you know, I've never been double penetrated, but I have been part of double penetrating, and it just feels cramped to me, and I hate all the positioning of it. So not for me when it comes to that.
I had another viewer question. When you say party, what do you mean?
Oh, I mean drinking and stuff like that. I don't mean like party and play party, which would be meth. I'm not at all a drug queen.
That's kind of what I figured, just like a regular old party. But
yeah, when I was younger, I used to party, but now, like, my idea of party is like I don't even drink. Like, probably once every 6 months I'll have a drink, and I don't get drunk anymore. Like, I don't drink to get drunk, and so like with me, like partying is everybody drinking, having a good time, and then, you know, some of us just smoking some weed. Like, that's more my vibe, is to just chill and smoke some weed.
good to know. Do you cook or bake?
I cook.
What do you like about cooking?
That I know exactly what's going into it, and usually I'm on a special diet because I like to be naked on Instagram. If anybody wants to see me naked, go to my Instagram stories. That's the place, because I don't put it on my regular wall. And but yeah, I'm naked on Instagram pretty much daily. So, you know, I watch what I eat. So I like to cook at home because then I get to see what ingredients are going in, and that there aren't extra sugar or salts being thrown in.
I can confirm that you do post your cooking on Instagram and that you are naked on your Instagram stories. If we are at the, well, you just said you don't drink much, but if we're at the bar and someone's buying us shots, what are we shooting?
Usually I would say Patron. Lately, it's been when I do drink. The last time I drank, this will give you an idea. The last time I drank was in January, and I was having Jameson. And for some reason, I was really enjoying doing shots of Jameson on that particular night. So I would say Jameson again.
Okay. Important question. Toilet paper, over or under?
This is an interesting question because I am a recent convert. I used to be under, no matter what, all circumstances under. And I would get angry at people for not putting it under. And I would tell guys I would date, everybody, the toilet paper goes under. And then, like, not too long ago, I switched to an over person. And now I'm completely head over heels with over rather than under.
So you're not verse with the toilet paper. You're strongly over at this point.
I'm strongly over right now. Yeah, I'm definitely not versed. I haven't gone that crazy, you know. I mean, like, I'm still staunchly one way or the other.
I can't even tell you. So I asked that question to every guest, and I think I've had 2 people in the last month who are like, I don't know, I don't care. And I'm like, you don't care? How do you not care?
Yeah, I care. I care about that more than I care about who the next president is or who wins the election. I definitely care more about the toilet paper.
I can confirm that that's also true from following you on social media. Who is your favorite drag queen?
Suzette Veneti.
Oh, thank you. I won't even correct you and say I'm not a drag queen.
Yeah, you're drag princess. I forgot. So you can be my favorite drag princess.
Okay.
And then my favorite drag queen would probably be somebody I actually know who technically is a trans woman but performs as a drag, you know what I mean, like does drag shows. And her name is Coco Van Cartier, and she won Miss Continental Plus several years back, and she's just a legendary queen, and just I love watching her perform. She's recently had weight loss surgery. She's very open about this, so it's not like I'm spilling her tea. But she recently had a weight loss surgery. But the thing was, even when she was bigger, she would do really impressive things like splits and flips. So it's like, not only is she fun to watch, she's also very athletic, and she's great at lip sync and absolutely beautiful. And like I said, she was a bigger girl, and she'll always be a bigger girl, even with like, because her weight loss surgery wasn't to be like a tiny, you know, she just wanted to be more healthy. And so she just, to me, she's everything that I like to see in the way that she shows people that you don't have to be what's always been traditionally the norm in order to be beautiful or stunning or like the most entertaining, you know?
Mm-hmm. And a reminder for anyone watching that drag can be done by anyone. Even trans women can be drag queens, just like comedy can be done by anyone. It's just an umbrella term for the art. So, who's your favorite drag king?
Gunnar Gatlin. I don't know if you've met or heard of Gunnar Gatlin, but he's been EOC before. He's from Arizona, and he's a really good drag performer. But yeah, that Gunnar Gatlin would be my answer to that.
Okay, I'll have to look him up. Okay. I retired this question, but I say that almost every week now, but I ask it of some of my more favorite people. I retired it because Chelsea Bearce destroyed the question, is the problem, and she said you have to retire it.
I love Chelsea.
But I think I'm interested to get your opinion. So it's a two-part question. If you were a Disney princess, who would you be?
If I were a Disney princess, who would I be? What was her name from The Princess and the Frog?
Tiana.
Tiana is who I would be. I love New Orleans, and I love The Princess and the Frog, and so Tiana is who I would be.
Okay. If I was a Disney princess, who would I be?
If you were a Disney princess, let's see, who would you be? I would say Cinderella.
Oh. I'll take it. Do you think I'm pretty?
What's that?
Do you think I'm pretty?
Yes, I think you're pretty.
Okay, cool. That was the last one. Well, actually, the last one is when all of this is over and there's no more restrictions, what are you most excited to do?
That's a weird question, because usually I would say go on the road, but like lately I haven't felt like going on the road. So I don't know what I most want to, like, go to a movie. That's what I was thinking about the other day. That I guess that's a good, because I would like to go back to a movie theater and like enjoy watching a movie like in that experience. So as cheesy as it sounds,
I think that sounds really nice right now, actually.
yeah, it's something we haven't been able to do. It's a complete non-option, you know. So go to a movie would probably be what I want to do when this is all over.
That's it. That's all my questions.
I had a good time. Thank you for making an enjoyable experience.
Thank you for being on so much. I really appreciate it. And to anyone watching in the area, Saturday, August 8th, here in Sacramento at Laughs Unlimited, 1207 Front Street. And you'll be headlining their 40 for 40.
Yes, it'll be a good time. If anybody wants to come out, please come out.
Well, I will see you that night. And I'll message you later because I have some tea to spill from our interview.
Yes, message me. We'll talk soon.
I will. All right. Love you. Bye.
Love you too.
All right. Peers and Queers. That was Thai Rivera. His information was on the screen below him. If you want to send him some coin, please do. Comedians. He actually has a gig coming up, but not a lot of gigs are out there right now because of COVID still. And with that, we're going to go with our final guest for the evening. Actor, producer, whatever he's doing, David Shapiro. Hey, David.
Hey, Suzette.
How are you?
How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. We've had a good show, so don't mess it up. What do you want to
Okay. Well, I kind of racked my brain, and I was actually going to see if I could take the week off, but then I decided I wanted to talk about baggage.
Oh, maybe because you heard
Yeah,
Chelsea talk about
baggage and dating.
it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so
So, specifically, like, if I were to date, at what point do I share the baggage with that girl?
I don't know.
Right. Well, okay. So, I'm going to make tea while I do this.
Don't spill.
I think that I have... Can you hear me? I think I have 4 huge train cars full of baggage. Right. Well, the OCD, the dogs that I'm always going to love more than anyone else ever, your baggage.
Oh, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Sorry. And then a 4th, just like, past relationships that maybe you can't, like, hard to get over, maybe, I don't, anyway, so at what point do you talk about that with, like, on a date with somebody when it comes to, like, sharing, because you have to,
Well, no, I don't. So when would you share your baggage? And this is interesting because you do have a lot.
Well, I'm not planning on dating ever, especially no time soon, but if I were to, that's kind of something interesting that I've been discussing with people this week, is like, when do you talk about, like, because some people say never, which I think is crazy, how do I, what, like, especially with what, yeah, and some
No,
people say
not never.
First date. Some people say if somebody asks about it, then you talk about it, which I think that might be the best policy.
I think it depends on what the baggage is, doesn't
Well,
it?
I think it's important to figure out, right, that's another thing, is what is baggage, right? Like, is the fact that I have OCD, is that baggage?
Well, mental illness makes dating difficult, so
It is a
yeah.
complication for dating, right? What about the dogs, like, that I'm always going to love more than I'll ever love another person? Is that baggage?
I hope not.
I
Dogs
certainly
are-
can't, like, that's like, that goes back to saying, like, when people are like, just don't talk about it ever, don't ever share your baggage, that makes me feel like that's not baggage, because how do I never talk about the OCD or the dogs ever to somebody that I'm dating? Like,
Well, you have to talk about those things because they're a part of
Right.
your life, so you can't.
well, and I think
bury-
maybe the OCD is certainly maybe more at the moment it might be a selling point to dating. What about you? Like, how do I? Certainly, if I were to date, I'd have to tell somebody about you and all the time that I spend helping you. Be you.
Well, I'm great and a part of
Right.
your life, so sorry.
So, I don't know. What about you?
What, like, do I share baggage? I date when I want to date, and I
Okay.
don't know. Do I have baggage?
Well,
Yeah.
hey, you're talking about the mail. My mailman's really cool. He delivers my mail. I always thank him and smile. He has to text me when he gets here because the gate is locked. I just
Well-
think he's really cool. I think mail people are really cool, and I think we should, what you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. The postal service people are really cool, and
They-
they have
they do-
baggage full of
yeah.
mail.
They do have bags.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I'm not gonna date, but if I just don't know what to do when it comes to disclosing baggage. So Yeah, I thought I would ask you. Do you, at any point, disclose baggage when you date?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, because it depends on the baggage, but whatever is part of me.
What do you consider baggage?
The things that shape you and what make you you. It's not always bad, you know? It can be a good thing. But if it's part of you, that's baggage.
Well, that's something for me to think about. And thanks for letting me talk to you about it. And that's it for me tonight, I think. Yeah. So, see you next week?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Peers and Queers, David Shapiro. And with that, I want to thank Stab Comedy. Right above my head, you can send them some coin because we couldn't do the show without them. And my producer, Jesse, for letting us always do the show, including nights like tonight where we went really long. But we couldn't do the show without him. And so make sure you support Stab Comedy Theater. And we'll see you next week on August 9th at 7:03 p.m. Bye.
Hot shit and ooh, I love it, yeah, yeah. Stumbling, but yeah, you're still looking hella fun. Keep doing what you're doing, I'ma make you mine. You're a hot mess and I'm falling for you, and I'm like, hot damn, let me make you my boo. 'Cause you can shake it, shake it, shake it, yeah, you know what to do. You're a hot mess, I'm loving it, hell yeah.
Time, it needs time to win back your love again. I will be there. I will be there. Nights in white satin, never reaching the end. Letters I've written, never meaning to send.
All right, everybody, if you're still hanging out, I was just checking to see if anybody is live. We're going to try and send whoever's left over to the Pack Theater. Thanks for checking us out. I'll see you in the morning.
I will be there. Beauty I'd always missed with these eyes before. Just what the truth is, I can't say anymore. Love, only love, can break down these walls again. I will be there. I will be there. Yes, I love you.